everybody. It's MVP running solo today. Going to do something a little different for you guys. Hopefully you'll like it. But what I wanted to do was read you an article titled Declination of Humanization in the Aerospace Maintenance Industry. And just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it, put the information out there that's contained within, see if it resonates with everybody, and kind of collect everybody's thoughts on it. But I think what's in the article will definitely be very relatable to most of us that work in aerospace. So with that said, let's get into it. The abstract. Have you ever been sitting in an airport terminal looking at the mechanics on the ramp fixing an aircraft and wondered why they look upset or disgruntled? Did witnessing these technicians in this state give you pause for concern? If not, did you at least wonder what is causing the issue? Aviation maintainers are made to feel lesser within their chosen occupation, not so much by words, but by actions of those in other facets of the industry, more specifically, aviation corporation management. Great attention is given to the qualms of the aircrew, but very little is dedicated to the maintenance group. It makes sense why companies want to keep pilots happy. It makes equal sense that you would want to pacify the people who uphold the strict standards that keep an aircraft flying safely. Despite this, maintainers are neglected, and it is starting to pay negative dividends via high turnover rates between companies or leaving the industry altogether. What's the fix? More money, paid time off, better benefits? Yes, but those are long-term fixes. The immediate path to resolution is free and comes naturally to us as human beings. That corrective action being communication. The next section is titled Mental Health Check. The viewpoint from which this article is written is based upon the author's own personal accounts and the experiences of others over the course of their careers thus far. Now, it should be stated up front, in general, aircraft maintenance technicians are a different breed of individuals. Though crass and brash in appearance, speak, and mannerisms, AMTs are objectively salt-of-the-earth people, hardworking, would give the shirt off their back to almost anyone who would genuinely go out of their way to help those who they respect and hold in high regard. As maintainers, we are groomed from the moment we arrive in the industry to glorify the grind. However, this promotion perhaps is better said as praise of burnout is beginning to have detrimental effects on the maintainer's overall outlook on life. Everyday norms become an inconvenience, just another thing they have to do, and as each day passes by, their perspective sours. The glass half full transitions to the glass half empty, often forgotten during periods of promotion, yet witnessing the successes of those they work in proximity to. Maintainers look for a light at the end of the tunnel and pray that the light they see is not a train. Though you will see them smiling, the mental health situation amongst aircraft maintenance is bleak. It is this author's opinion that the ultimate root cause of declining mental health in the aerospace maintenance industry is due to poor leadership, which will be discussed in further detail later in the paper. The next section is titled Issues Affecting Mental Health. For the Mental Health Foundation, there are biological, psychological, and social factors that affect mental health both positively and negatively. For the purpose of this conversation, the focus will be on the negative aspects of these factors. Assuming positives can be applied to several of the bullet points listed below are those negative factors. Biological factors are alcohol, diet, drugs, physical activity, i.e. exercise, physical health, anxiety and depression, smoking. Psychological factors are image, stigma and discrimination, stress and trauma. Social factors are debt, friendship, human rights, loneliness, work-life balance. All of these factors plague aerospace maintenance. Specific examples of each shall be given to elucidate the situation and give readers a bit of insight into the industry. First and foremost is stress. The level of work aircraft maintenance encounters is constant and perpetual. Aircraft are governed by strict Federal Aviation Administration and original equipment manufacturer, or OEM, specifications that dictate the cyclical inspections and parts change intervals to maintain a safe operational status of the aircraft. Where the stress comes into play deals with the flight schedule. Maintenance crews are pushed to the breaking point by the uncertainty of the flight schedule. The flight schedule It's always in fluctuation. Flight moved up by several hours, change of tail number, flight canceled altogether, etc. Typically, maintenance consists of a skeleton-sized crew or the bare minimum personnel and are overly task saturated. So the best way for them to accomplish maintenance to meet schedule variances is a plan. However, with the schedule in limbo, deviations seemingly ruin even the best laid plans. When maintenance brings issues to light or raise the flag to invoke taking a pause and reevaluate the situation, they are directed to do more with less and to be thankful that they have a job. As such, the stress level rises. A large part of aircraft maintenance is performed during nocturnal hours, what is referred to as mid-shift. Typically, that's 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. The reasoning is because a large portion of aircraft do not fly during these hours, which allows maintenance to do their job unimpeded by the ebbs and flows of business during normal working hours. We as humans have a natural circadian rhythm by which we are biologically predispositioned to follow. The National Institute of General Medical Sciences defines circadian rhythm as the physical, mental, and behavioral changes an organism experiences over a 24-hour cycle. Light and dark have the biggest influence on circadian rhythms, but food intake, stress, physical activity, social environment, and temperature also affect them. Often work spills beyond the predetermined shift schedule, pushing personnel to arrive home later and forcing maintainers to sleep during peak daylight hours when the rest of the world is wide awake and going about their own frivolous tasks. Couple this with nutrient consumption during off-circadian rhythm time frames, and you begin to see how this cycle can decline both physical and mental health over prolonged periods of time. As humans, we are subject to our vices. The mind is a powerful biological computer and can be our downfall when we are seeking reprieve from what is ailing us at any given time, especially during times of increased stress levels. An example of this is when our work-life balance is in turmoil. When we are in a state of degradation within our professional lives and receiving ridicule at home from our families with whom we have not spent much time with due to our employment, hence the ridicule, and are finding no reprieve from either situation. When the results of these biological, psychological, and social factors culminate, people turn to substances that will lessen the pain or numb, if you will. Thus begins a cycle of bad choices and addictions. People search for some semblance of joy where it can be found. It must be stated that when the word substance is mentioned, it does not solely reference illegal drugs or alcohol. Excess caffeine, sugar, social media, etc. can all be considered substances that can be consumed in excess. For me personally, the addiction was food. I am a stress eater, which I have come to learn is medically diagnosed as binge eating. To cope with my own stress, I would eat my emotions, meaning I would eat until I was happy. Unfortunately, this led to a weight gain of 100 pounds, which brought on high blood pressure, vertigo, gout, and a pre-diabetic disposition. A physically and medically grim place to be in at the age of 36. The interesting part is you notice it happening. You can feel your body changing. You feel the aches and pains that come with a lifestyle of bad decisions, but are nearly powerless to prevent the self-destruction. Again, the mind is extremely persuasive and supportive, even when we are divulging in activities that are not in the best interest of our health. Poor mental health, in most cases, does not occur overnight. It is wrought by the accumulation of negative events over a period of time, episodes that gave rise to discontentment and the subsequent building of hostile emotions that were not appropriately managed by the affected individuals. Despite the emotional mismanagement, the feelings of those people are real to them. However, prolonged exposure to these emotions will create a me versus them atmosphere that will cripple any form of solidarity and productivity in the workplace. When a person is of the mindset that they are on an island, figuratively speaking, a sense of loneliness may overcome them. They ask themselves, why am I the only one who feels or thinks this way? Is the problem really a problem, or am I overreacting? The alienation in turn may impact friendships. In some cases, the only thing that gets people through each workday are the friendships they have built and fostered. I am certain most of us have been employed at a company where if it was not for the kindred spirit, your coworkers, if it was not for the kindred spirit, your coworkers, you would have quit long before you actually did. Lastly, aircraft maintenance face the psychological factors of image, stigma, and discrimination. When the general populace hear the word mechanic, they impose a negative connotation to the word. Perhaps this is because mechanics of any background are personified as this gruff, grease and oil covered entity who smells of fuel and sweat, is uneducated and illiterate in their speech. Anyone who repairs equipment that contains a multitude of fluids and is exposed to a wide array of elements is subject to the ramifications of working in a dirty environment. That is an understood element amongst all maintainers. If you need proof, actor Mike Rowe hosted a television show called Dirty Jobs and was dedicated to showcasing people performing their duties that keep society afloat. Where disconnect comes into play is the level of education. Part of the negative overtone spoken about previously comes from the stigma of you didn't go to a four-year college, therefore you are uneducated. An ignorant and incorrect statement. Maintainers may not be educated in your field of study, but they are very well versed in theirs. All aircraft mechanics in the United States, Canada, and Europe must undergo specialized education training in order to obtain licenses that legally allows them to perform maintenance on that respective country's registered aircraft. In the United States, aviation maintenance is governed by the Federal Aviation Administration. Canada is guided by the Transport Canada Civil Aviation, and Europe falls under the jurisdiction of the European Union Aviation Safety Agency. All three agencies have strict standards, but EASA is the most stringent as they only permit their maintainers to be type rated on 3 different airframes at a time. If one airframe becomes obsolete, they must return to school to learn a new airframe. In Canada and the United States, certified technicians are able to work on any airframe type. Sorry for the chop up there, I'm flipping pages. In the United States and Canada, maintainers can work on any aircraft type. No type rating restrictions in place. Some airframe and power plant schools within the United States do offer degrees along with the license. For example, the Pittsburgh Institute of Aeronautics offers an associate's degree in specialized technology, and Embry-Riddle offers a bachelor's of science in aviation maintenance. Education is not the issue, but it does play a part in the stigma against maintenance. One of the larger pieces to the negative stigma against maintenance is the fact that aviation maintenance is not considered a specialized or skilled trade in the United States. An absurdity when you consider that automotive and marine maintenance are. Aircraft maintenance must follow to the letter maintenance manuals that describe in detail how to inspect and maintain the vessel. Deviation from the manuals can result in incomplete maintenance that can induce failure into the aircraft, resulting in dire, even fatal situations. Think about this. A car breaks down, you pull over to the side of the road. An aircraft suffers catastrophic failure. The pilots are looking for the nearest airport or open plot of land. While it can be confirmed that aircraft maintenance being classified as unskilled is a fallacy, the fact remains the Department of Labor's explanation of aviation maintenance is convoluted at best. It appears that the perspective of unskilled labor is antiquated, based off outdated information and the premise of mechanics are the hired help, employed by those of an upper-level education who see mechanics as a lesser entity. A majority of maintenance personnel will tell you their opinions and thoughts of how the workplace could be more effective, efficient, and less toxic. However, they go unheard or ignored by upper management. Everyone wants to be seen and heard. How we are portrayed to others plays a big part in how we view ourselves. We want to be value add to our organizations and will seek to achieve that goal if we can. A near impossible task is to ensure that everyone in the workplace is happy at all times, but actions can be taken and processes implemented to achieve higher than average job satisfaction rating. Managers, leadership at all levels are responsible for employee morale. An adequate job, well-paid, decent work-life balance, satisfaction, etc., can quickly turn sour without the proper supportive leadership. Even the less desirable jobs may experience less of a turnover rate under the guidance and tutelage of the right leader. Workers yearn for a leader that they can confide in and trust that their superior has their best interest in mind. Workers also want to know that a valid attempt has been made to help resolve their issues. If managers are only words and no action, people will quickly see through the facade. The ensuing loss of respect and trust will be swift. In my experience, micromanagers are one of the quickest killers of morale, nitpicking every detail of the task you perform. During any time during my time at a previous place of employment, when asking leadership for guidance on how to approach and execute a particular duty, they would respond with, "Why are you asking me? I hired you for your autonomy and decision-making abilities." After several of those type of interactions, you begin making executive decisions based off of the information available at the time, doing exactly as leadership directed you to do. However, the next day, or over the course of days when more information became available, you would be openly criticized by the same manager for the decisions you made. When reminding this micromanager of their previous guidance, they would continually respond with, "You will always be wrong, but you can be less wrong." I struggle to think of a better statement that ruins motivation as effectively as this one. On the other end of the spectrum are apathetic leaders, those who devote as little of time as possible to the betterment of their team. In most cases, these individuals are only focused on enhancing their own careers, so helping others achieve success will only slow down their own progression. If you ever see one of these types of leaders assisting someone else, there is almost assuredly an ulterior motive behind it, meaning the leader has something to gain from helping this particular individual. One way you can be on the lookout for this type of leader is via the following statement: "I don't like to micromanage people." They are clever in that they hide behind the more overbearing and in-your-face approach, i.e. micromanaging. However, if you pay close attention, these types of people are still micromanaging you while not having to ever engage with you on positive results, keeping the glory to themselves. They will confront you should anything transpire with less than desirable results, even if those results are a product of their direct input. Working for a management group that does not foster an open door policy will have a revolving door of employees, yet most corporations are not looking at this as a large issue. Therefore, they are not looking inward and self-reflecting on what could have been done better by the business to stifle fluctuation of employees and potential loss of experience. Harvard Business Review published an article titled "Why People Really Quit Their Jobs," which provides an interesting viewpoint on the subject. People are more likely to jump ship when they have horrible boss. But a survey concluded that the decision to exit was because of the work. They left when their job wasn't enjoyable, their strengths weren't being used, and they weren't growing in their careers. People don't quit a boss, they quit a job. And who's responsible for what the job is like? Managers. If you want to keep your people, especially your stars, it's time to pay more attention to how you design their work. Most companies design jobs and then slot people into them. Our best managers sometimes do the opposite. When they find talented people, they're open to creating jobs around them. Managers can play a major role in designing motivating, meaningful jobs. The best go out of their way to help people do work they enjoy, even if it means rotating them out of roles where they were excelling. Smart managers create opportunities for people to use their strengths. I could not agree more that managerial support is integral to an employee's overall well-being. Though the statement, "People do not quit their bosses, they quit their jobs," directly conflicts with the more popular colloquialism, "People do not quit their jobs, they quit their bosses," which is true. In my opinion, both can be true, but I believe they are situation dependent. Instead, it is looking as though businesses are becoming an immovable object with regards to ensuring positive employee satisfaction. Instead, the approach has removed the human factor from the equation and treating everyone as a robot. Be seen but not heard. Keep your head down, remain silent, and do the work. If when you break down, you will be replaced. Corporate will never openly admit to that tactic, but you see it enacted at the lowest levels of management. Fear-mongering, a dark cloud hanging over employees that keeps them from speaking up for fear of repercussions. Recent issues with Boeing and whistleblowers is a prime example of this. As employees become aware that they are just a number within the organization, their loyalty begins to diminish. Productivity comes at a decreased rate. They view their occupation as a job versus a career. I once heard a program manager in an attempted motivational speech make the following statement: "If you think this is just a job, you need to reevaluate your thought process." A bold audience member chimed in with the rebuttal, "Give me something good to think about." Much of what ails aircraft maintenance is the lack of support from their superiors. Maintainers, like any other profession, are as diverse in their interests and skill sets, both in and out of work. While there is a fine line between friend and boss, it is pertinent to learn about each employee on a personal and professional level. This should be common knowledge, but must be stated for full dissemination. The personal information shared by an employee is not to be used against them at work. Treating workers as inane tools has demoralized the workforce. If we are all disposable, then let me find a job that pays me as much as possible for the time that the company finds me valuable. Once I am no longer of value, I will seek the next opportunity. The current culture of the workforce appears to be accepting of this current cycle of employment. Employers and employees are stuck in this gridlock cycle of take more from the other than they can take from you. What can be done to remedy the situation, if anything? The next section is titled The Path Forward. Just as the ancient civilizations built the pyramids, progress will need to start from the ground with a solid foundation. Maintainers will need to communicate amongst themselves about the positives and negatives of their work environment. Mentoring and coaching our colleagues is an optimal way to reduce the initial pangs of pain experienced. It builds camaraderie and kinship where people can recognize that they are not alone. We must build a culture amongst maintainers where we lift each other up rather than seeking to undermine their professional journey. We need to push each other to become better than we were. Identify someone who can be considered a trusted partner within the existing management group, a leader with whom you can confide in, who acknowledge your words and validate your voices are heard. If that person does not exist in your organization, is there anyone among the group that is brave enough to step up and be the voice of the people? I bet there are. There are leaders out on the hangar floor who will step up as long as they have the backing of the entire team. In my experience, some of the best leaders I had the pleasure of working for were my equals, job position-wise, holding the same title, rank, pay scale, and job duties that I held. However, they were a step above their peers due to their confidence in themselves and their abilities. Their own life experiences have propelled them to a higher level of thinking and problem solving. It is recommended that aircraft maintainers seek out these individuals to garner their wisdom and incorporate their methodologies into their own toolkit for future use. When a new maintainer would arrive to the team, I would always end the new hire brief with a phrase, "Everyone here has something to offer, but no one is overtly accomplished at all things." Admittedly, that phrase was stolen from one of my prior peer leaders. Learn the best traits from each person and embody those qualities so that the new hires after you can expunge the same from you in the future. To further promote the importance of communication in resolving the issue of declining humanization, I am sharing an email received from a listener to a podcast, a show in which the author is the co-host. And in their opinion, these types of real conversations must be had between colleagues, but more importantly, between a management group and their employees. The following paragraphs are the transcript of that email. Names will be omitted for the sake of privacy in this article. So the first section's from the podcast host. Thank you for reaching out to us. We're glad to know that you feel comfortable enough with us to reach out for advice, even though we've never met. We aim to help anyone we can, no matter the situation. This is one of our core tenets. Continue on. First off, congratulations on graduating from AMP school. This is a massive accomplishment, and you should be extremely proud. Moving forward, we will break up your email to smaller sections to better answer your questions. From the listener, I noticed the severe disconnect between aviation management, planning, supervision, and even QA in the retail world. I understand that people above me worked hard to obtain a degree experience so they can get high-paying jobs and more responsibility. So I'd never argue with someone who is older with more knowledge than me. I understand I have a lot to learn, not only from my peers, but everyone around me. The thing that worries me is the people above me. In my company, they are hiring people right out of college to plan and manage a company. As many as the old timers retire who they relied on to help them along the way continue to run things smoothly, and it's been an absolute mess. As someone new to the aviation world, I'm curious how this is supposed to play out. The unfortunately disconnects between management bean counters and those who work the hangar floor, executives call this touch labor, is inherent to nearly all industries. The sad reality is the upper echelons of management do not understand what it is that you do on a daily basis. All the executives see are schedules and dollars, so anything that speeds up the schedule and increases revenue is the initiative they will push. We appreciate your professionalism in arguing with management, but understand that just because someone has a degree and is older than you does not make them more intelligent than you. While they may understand accounting, they know very little about what it takes to fix an aircraft. You may have heard the following statement. I know we have heard it many times over our careers. That statement is, we've always done it this way. Our favorite response to that is, then you have always been wrong. Do not be afraid to challenge the status quo. Oftentimes people become so narrow-sighted on their objective they lose the important things in their peripherals. By raising your hand and asking questions might just be what is needed to make them see the forest through the trees. There are tactful ways to do this. Our suggestion is to express your concerns first with those you trust, i.e. your peers and your lead. Once you have established the narrative, ask your lead to schedule a meeting with your team and management where the concerns may be brought to light and discussed. You will either get both sides coming to some mutual understanding, or they will respond in an aristocratic style, i.e. an iron fist. Should the latter occur, it might be time to seek other employment. Another suggestion we have is to befriend one of the new hires, one of those people that just came to your management team. Build the relationship of trust where you both can offer each other better solutions to problems. As a new initiative comes forward, they will seek your guidance so as to build a seamless plan to execute. That is what an effective agile leader will do to ensure success. The listener. I felt a lot of backlash as a new aviation employee that my lead, a lifesaver, has thankfully defended me as a new aviation employee. Who is still learning. I've been learning one of the Learjets for almost a year and a half, and I learn new things every day. I work with 2 seasoned employees who have been working with the company for 30 years each and are happy to teach me new things each day. My lead tries to pressure me to make the times listed on each discrepancy, and most of the time I do, but there are times I don't, and that entails troubleshooting and learning on top of the troubleshooting, so it's more time than expected. So I'm just curious how to handle supervision once my lead retires. I'd love to help teach people in the future and become a lead someday, but at the same time, I'm put off by the lack of support supervision gives my leads to succeed and is constantly making the leads look bad to place blame on someone other than themselves. Just curious on your opinion, as you both have more experience in this field than I do. The co-host, I'm sorry you have felt the backlash as a new mechanic to the industry. If it is any consolation, we have all been there at some point and continue to be at other points in our careers. Such is the life of those who seek to make positive changes. People do not like to be told they are wrong, even when they know they are. Be thankful that you have a strong lead and teammates. Not everyone is so lucky at their first job out of school. There are a lot of spineless leaders out there, but they are leads because they are yes men to the bosses. However, have you noticed that the yes men garner no respect from either leadership or their employees? Your lead sounds like a top-notch character. Learn as much from them as you can, and not just in your daily job duties, but as a leader. One aspect of your lead that we want you to hone in on is the fact that they are in that position for a reason. While they do push back on management, they still get results, and management is keenly aware of how effective this person is and their team, i.e. you are. As such, they are nearly untouchable. Your lead has the respect of you and management. Your lead has acquired the unique skill of not letting the scapegoat title affect who they are and how they operate. Our request to you is to incorporate all the positive aspects of those you work with and make your own style of leadership. Make that your own style of leadership. With your lead and peers retiring, if you can embody these leadership qualities, you could very well be the new lead. Also, do not be afraid to send a well-written email to your supervisor. One thing everyone at all levels can get better at is communication. And that's the end of that interaction. The next part here continues on in the same paragraph that is passed forward. Mentorships are a great form of communication and are grossly underutilized within the touch labor work centers of business. You most often witness mentorships occur in the upper management realm, vice presidents orchestrating directors to ensure they have a suitable replacement once they are promoted or retire. This tactic makes sense for continuity of information and continued sustainable operations. However, the mentorship approach will be equally beneficial to sustained operations at the maintainer level. Too often we see a revolving door within the aircraft maintenance personnel caused by a feeling of being undervalued and no opportunity for growth. While you could take the stance of maintainers are a dime a dozen, and where one leaves, there are 10 more ready to take their place, these technicians take with them crucial experience when they vacate their position. Knowledge that will benefit your direct competitors. Yes, you can replace the body with relative ease, but how long until the new employee is up to the same level as their predecessor? Perhaps not too long if the business is willing to pay for the experience. If the business is willing to pay for the experience, then what is the reasoning for the previous employee's departure? It is this type of internal reflections that management and employees must have in order to grow into a more cohesive, productive unit. It is self-critiquing that will be pertinent to the mitigation of us becoming biological robots within the workplace and bring about a common theme of humility, kindness, empathy, and respect for our fellow colleagues at all levels within the organization. To provide an example of internal reflection, last year, I was denied a promotion. Lost the position to a person whom I had trained since their arrival to the department. Rather upset, I began to sulk and blame everything and everyone but myself as to why I did not receive the promotion. When I sat down to discuss this with my mentor, he let me express my emotions for a good while. Once I was done venting, he said, "I understand, but what could you have done better to ensure the promotion?" The conversation did not move forward until I gave at least one answer. Once I had provided my opinion, he began a series of questions that ultimately led to me realizing there was quite a bit I should have done to improve my standing for the position. We created a list of areas of improvement. Over the next few months, I attended training seminars and worked through leadership exercises and a variety of scenarios with my mentor to improve myself as a person and leader. Sometimes we can get so self-absorbed and frustrated with the situation that we cannot see, again, the forest through the trees. A good mentor is someone who will help grow as an help us grow as an individual at the individual level. But that personal growth will positively impact the masses. The next section is the conclusion. We, management and touch labor, must realize that neither are exempt from fault in this situation. We have allowed the gambit of continually taking from one another to compound into the industry environment we know today. We are both equally responsible for ensuring the lines of communication remain open up and down the chain of command. More important than that is ensuring what is being said on either end is being understood and disseminated in a manner that fosters continued discussion, understanding, and learning. Equally important is the realization of weak points in the chain, i.e. those personnel who outright refuse to listen and promote the culture of respect. They are a blight and must be removed. Otherwise, the only sustainable part of that business will be a constant reduction of productivity and an increase in employee-employee resentment towards one another. It is my belief the situation can be rectified through adding a little more humanity and understanding to each entity's points of view. I will end with a statement most of us learned as young children. Treat others as you want to be treated. That's the end of the article. Oh, I think I actually skipped a section in there, maybe? Nope, I did not. Sorry, everybody. Short line, maybe cut out that last part and then splice in this. So anyways, that's the article I wanted to share with you guys. Apologies for the poor reading. I don't often read out loud to anyone anymore, not since my children have grown and position change at work. So Apology for the chopped up sentences, and you may be wanting to rip your own ears off your head. But I hope you found something valuable in that article, and perhaps you found it relatable even to your own specific situation. If you did find anything relatable, is there anything that you honed in on in particular? If so, what was it? Let us know. We'd love to discuss it more and maybe future episodes, or perhaps can go back and on that touch point and elaborate a little more if there's something that was slightly unclear. So please reach out to us. Let us know what's going on in your environment, what you liked or disliked or disagreed with about the article. This is how discussions and we learn, right? We consider both sides of the coin. So with that said, thanks for listening to me drone on for the last 40 minutes or so. And we'll see you all in the next episode. Bye, everyone.
We would like to take this time to thank our patrons for supporting our show and allowing us to make episodes, maintain our gear, and create merch for all of our listeners. With special thanks to Erica Lamont, Chris Hawkins, Eric Shaw, Dan Schubert, Ryan Frushauer, Kyle Keir, Mike Sherwood, Caleb Stockhill, and Jennifer Brofer. Thank you all so much for your support and patronage. If you like our show, please support us on Patreon. You'll receive awesome perks like access to our private Discord, discounts and early access to our merch, first glimpse of our comics and other projects, and so much more. You can further support us and show off your prowess as an aircraft specialist by visiting our shop at cancelformaintenance.com. If you like classy or rugged watches, visit our affiliate Rockwell Time at rockwelltime.com. Use the code CX4MX to save 10% off your total order. If you have suggestions for the show or you'd like to be a guest on the show, send us a line on our contact us section at cancelformaintenance.com, and we'll do what we can to get both your ideas and yourself on the show. Please support us on social media like Facebook at Cancel for Maintenance, Instagram at CANX for Maintenance Podcast, or Twitter at CXMX Podcast. Please check out our new comic series on the Tapas app. Like, share, subscribe, and comment on our comics. Let us know what you think. Thank you all so much for your support and listenership, and we will catch you all next time.